Thank you for listening, guys. And join us in 2 weeks for a new episode recap. In the next episode recap, we will recap the episode Transfiguration. Ghost track is to listen on Spotify, Google Podcast, Amazon Music, on the Facebook group and YouTube channel. I want to invite you to the YouTube channel and Facebook group so we can discuss each episode. Or what do you think about doing a live discussion of episode once in a while? Let me know in the comment section on YouTube and Facebook what you think. We will see you in 2 weeks. Live long and prosper. Well, everyone, welcome back. And welcome back, Rebecca.
It's fantastic to be back.
Yeah, we had a blast last time.
Absolutely, it was so much fun. I love chatting about Star Trek with you. It's fantastic.
So, what have you been being up to?
Well, as I said to you earlier, this past week has just been a little hectic since my friend is about to have her baby, so it's been a little bit just running some errands for her and making sure that, she's ready because, as I said, this is her 4th child. So, not like she obviously knows what she's doing, but there's been a lot of things that just she needed my help tying up loose ends with because her husband's at work. So that's pretty much what I've been doing with my week. How about you?
I had a lot of doctors visiting and etc. So being a bit working on my health, and yeah, it goes how it goes.
Yeah, you need the distraction now of Star Trek so that you can stop thinking about your doctor's appointments.
Yeah, it is. I'm really I'm recapping DS9 as well. So while recapping, rewatching.
Yeah.
So and I don't know if I did tell you that last week, but I only start liking Quark after that episode when Odo was solid and Odo had to bring him to one of a court thing or whatever, and they stranded on this planet and they had to share the terminal closing. And at the end, Odo breaks his leg, and Quark is the one who had to get that. What's the thingy? The communication thingy that had to be higher up on the mount so they could single the Defiant and Deep Space Nine. And but that was a very nice episode, but from this on, I start liking Quark since the first episode of DS9. So, but yeah,
the Ferengi are just weird.
like in this episode we're going to recap today.
Yeah, this episode was very bizarre. That's.
Yeah, this episode was really, I don't know, I don't want to say chaotic, but it was more like, how would you say this? Well, it was a Luxwana Troi episode.
Which are always just a hoot. Like, let's...
Drama!
Santa is around.
Yeah, drama queen, I always say.
She's fantastic. Like, I love Majel.
Yeah.
I think she was fantastic. Although this was the first time that I was watching this episode, and you're gonna maybe, I don't know, are you familiar with the American sitcom Three's Company from the 80s?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, it had John Ritter and Suzanne Summers, and basically the premise of it was these 3 people that were rooming together, and it was 2 women and 1 man, and in order for like the landlord to let the man live with these 2 women, he lied and said he was gay. But anyway, the man's wife, Mrs. Roper, just like was this very over the top woman who, like, she always wore these like flamboyant muumuus, and just this was the first episode where I kind of was like watching it and watching Luxwana. I was like, I'm getting some Mrs. Roper vibes off this woman.
Well, Luxwana always has been dressed up in every episode of Star Trek, and you know, it doesn't matter in what series she's playing. We always know her as Luxwana Troi, and of course she played Nurse Chapel, and she did the computer voice, etc. But
yeah,
I always, if you say Luxwana Troi, the thing and I always say she is a actress. She's a good actress, and she plays the role that good that she's getting the blood under my nails off from, and
yeah,
but there is this, and I come to that because I'm rewatching DS9 as well. There is this period in Deep Space Nine that she has this fling with Odo.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I must say, that's the point that I am actually start liking her. But she is so super irritating in this episode. And I always say, poor Diana. She has to endure so much of her. But she got a bit of karma back from Damon Togg.
He gives new meaning to the term obsessive.
Yeah, and you know.
Oh my goodness, that man! Like, it was just, and then like in the beginning as well, when he like offers to buy her, like he's there are, we know there's female Ferengi, and so we know that he knows that you don't buy women.
Yeah.
But, he's like, oh, I'll pay you handsomely. And it's like, are you trying to pay her for sex? Or are you trying to pay her for her services as a telepath? Because it sure as heck sounded like he wanted to pay her for sex.
Yeah. Because you could also see when they've been kidnapped and one of the Ferengi guards said, well, Damon, they are awake. Immediately he transported Diana and Luxwana over to his quarters naked.
Yeah.
And, oh, by the way, did you know that Dr. What's his name? Dr. Fargad is played by Ethan Phillips, and Ethan Phillips played I forgot his name now. He played on Voyager, the chef.
Oh gosh. No, now I've just forgotten. Neelix,
yeah. So that was funny to know.
I didn't know that. I know that they used I know that Armin Shimmerman played one of the Ferengi in one of the TNG episodes.
Yeah.
Before he was Quark, but I didn't realize that they had also used Ethan Phillips.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, I was when I saw the actors on screen who were playing in it with special guests. His name came over, and so right away I went on IMDb to take a look, and he is the Doctor. But did you know also that Ethan Phillips? Oh no, that is John Billings who played. Oh crap! I forgot his name. What he is playing at?
He played Phlox.
Yeah. But he and the EMH Doctor and a few other ones played in the Orville.
Not actually seen any of the Orville.
I must say I was very skeptic, but a friend of mine who is also was a regular on my other podcast, he said, well, just go take a look and we do an episode about it. And I'm glad that I listened to him, because normally I don't like the fan productions, but I must say the Orville is really good.
Yeah.
Really good. But okay, we were with the Ferengis
Sorry,
in this.
now I'm looking at Ethan Phillips' IMDb page.
You have to watch it again now.
Easily distracted.
But you don't recognize him really. Normally you can.
Oh no! I mean, not only put him in makeup. It's like the same with all of the different aliens that Jeffrey Combs has played, and it's like, yep, just slap some makeup on him, and you'd never know. But the other thing that's interesting to me is, like, I didn't realize quite how, like, short he must be, because the Ferengi are a fairly short race. So he must be. I mean, I guess, I don't know.
Yeah, but the weird thing is, in Deep Space Nine, Quark tells us that Ferengis can be old.
Yeah.
And, well, you can see that the Ferengi race in TNG is still in the child shoes.
Sorry, I didn't catch that.
The Ferengi race is still in his child shoes.
Yeah.
So they're still looking at okay, what is the Ferengi? But, it is funny how, and that was one of the first scenes. So Damon Talk wanted to buy Luxwana, and he thinks that female are dumb, and so she was irritating by him, and then she tried to got the attention of Picard, and then Picard was really actually running away from Luxwana.
So fantastic. He's like, I want to show him the
Yeah. that was so obvious.
But yeah, and also though when the Ferengi were playing chess, and they're like, and with Will, and he was like, I can't play. There's too much distraction. It's like,
yeah, but
oh, what a sore little loser.
Yeah, but that's what I was asking myself also. I thought Ferengis were too dumb to play chess, especially Vulcan chess.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, part of me does kind of wonder if they're a bit smarter than they act around other species, because, like, Quark was actually a fairly intelligent Ferengi. Nog wound up joining Starfleet, so obviously he was an intelligent Ferengi. So maybe it's just that the ones that they send out into space aren't exactly the brightest.
Well, maybe being dumb is maybe a weird, stupid thing to say, but I mean, like, I wouldn't say that a Ferengi would play chess.
I don't really think they would either. Especially not against a human, when they're so, like, they're almost a very racist species, because all of the other species there, they look down on, even though they're not the best species either. But, I do feel like, why would you be playing, why are you even playing chess with a human when you look down on humans?
Yeah, but I mean also, like, I wouldn't see Ferengi playing chess, and we never see that in the other series as well, so why would they play chess in here? And maybe the writers were thinking of, well, it is something human to do, and it is like time passing, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I do remember that originally they wanted the Ferengi to be like this big, um, they wanted them to be the big and big bad species that was throughout the TNG, and then because they were so ridiculously funny, they decided to change it to being the Borg.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so, there was this issue between Luxwana and Diana as well, and every time they have an episode together, this point is coming back to them, is that Luxwana wants Diana having a husband and kids. And I must say, I know the struggle, because I have the same struggle with my mother.
I was gonna say, I feel like any woman probably is familiar with this, with their own mother, of just that pressure that you need to get married, you need to have children. And yeah, it definitely, I feel like once you get to a certain age, if you're not already attached to someone, those questions start happening, and you kind of do yell at your mother and want her to leave you alone. So I'm totally on Deanna's side.
Yeah, me too. But what I wanted to say is that Luxana has this urge very strongly, and I think maybe they did that because of it is like, and that's what I always say about TOS and TNG. They always have episodes with like subjects in what still plays nowadays, or like lessons.
Yeah.
And what I liked about this episode is that this was still something, of course, it's still playing nowadays with moms and doctors that have this kind of conversations, and that the daughter have to say it's not the 1900s, but it is 2024, and leave me alone,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you definitely, but then I also kind of wonder, like, has Luxana not, like, twigged on the fact that, if Deanna gets married and has children, then that's going to make her a grandmother, and I'm not sure if she wants to,
yeah, that
be
too,
a grandmother.
That too, but she was
like,
and what I really, I don't said I don't get it, but it's like she was very focused on the relationship between Diana and Riker, but although they are not together, they had this romantic little holiday on Betasad, and of course Luxana was busy with them as always. So
like, Luxana, if you want them to get back together, you maybe need to leave them alone.
Yeah. And I think that was the weird thing. I thought that was the first contact. That was that Nemesis? I think that was Nemesis. When Diana and Riker married, we didn't see Luxana.
Yeah, that was the beginning. They got married at the beginning of Nemesis.
Yeah. So.
When did that come out? Now I've got to do some diving.
Hold on. I am going to look it up at Google real quick, cause there is something, and Star Trek Mrs. 2002.
Okay.
So that. Damn, that's already
still alive. Because she didn't pass until 2008. So, yeah, I wonder why they didn't put her in.
Yeah, maybe it was just, I don't know. Maybe her son can answer this.
Yeah. I was like, send him a tweet, be like, why wasn't she in this? Please explain.
Maybe it was just a too short scene for her to get involved with.
Yeah, I mean it's one of those things where it's gonna wind up coming down to something stupid like budget or.
But maybe also like that wedding scene is just a short one, so it's not the movie itself. And of course, Nemesis was all about the clone of Picard.
Yeah, but they did have Wesley in it very briefly, so I mean, they could have had her in it as well and just been like this little 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Unless it was something like, because I think they did also. They kind of alluded at the beginning of Nemesis that they had a Betazoid wedding as well, so maybe she was at that one and.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Hold on, let me check if when Starflight DS9 began. I thought that was around that time, right? DS9.
I think it was somewhere in the mid-90s because DS9 sort of started partway through TNG's run.
Yeah. Deep Space Nine was from 1993 till 1999. Yeah, that's a bit weird, but okay.
And she was still doing the computer voice in Voyager.
Yeah.
So, I mean, she definitely was still semi-active. It's just very, as you say, just really kind of strange that they didn't put her in there, but especially when she's... Because there's no mention of her at all. Not even, I mean, there wouldn't be really, because as we say, their wedding wasn't the primary focus of Nemesis, but... I think we can assume that she was at least happy for her child.
Yeah. I think that she would be happy. And how many times did she marry?
I'm not sure, to be honest.
A couple of times. That's for sure.
I think there were a couple of times when she was supposed to get married. But yeah, I don't actually know. Because there was that one episode where it was supposed to be her wedding.
Mm-hmm. With Odo. And that's the one.
No, but there was on TNG. There was one where she was supposed to get married.
Mm-hmm. And she came as Betazoid.
Then...
You know what weird was in this episode is that a Ferengi was actually in love with a woman.
Yeah.
Normally we don't see that.
No, it was just, as I say, it was just, the whole episode was just very, very bizarre because, why was what possessed the Ferengi to fall in love with someone who was more human looking than them? I mean, obviously it's possible, but it just does strike you as very weird, especially knowing how the Ferengi feel about women. And so you do kind of wonder, why would you even want this strong, independent woman when your entire species considers women to be, their place is naked in the home, So it was a bit bizarre. But hey, the heart wants what the heart wants.
Well, it was not only the heart. He wanted to have her telepathic...
Yeah.
And that was typical. I think this is the first episode that we really saw what Ferengis are, like this greedy person that only wants money or latium.
Yeah. Because I'm just trying to think how many other episodes had we so far seen the Ferengi in? I
think there's just a couple, like 2 or 3.
Because obviously they were in the episode in the first season. And because they were in 2 different episodes, weren't they, in the first season?
Mm-hmm.
And then let's see. Oh, okay. So they were in a couple of other episodes. It looks like. They were in a second season episode. It says on here, and then they were in the episode "The Price."
Mm-hmm.
First episode, yeah, and then it skips over the rest. It doesn't even mention this episode that we've watched on the list of episodes, which is interesting.
What really was clever.
The episode was that good that even Wikipedia forgot about it.
That's always the same. But there was also this scene when Riker wants to send the Enterprise a message, and he needed to have Diamond talk permission for it. So he sent this other message to them, and Wesley was the one who figured it out again.
Yeah.
The one, the kid, that if we're a bit coming back for Wesley Crusher, I don't know about you, but he was my first ever crush, TV crush.
Yeah. Definitely had his posters from the teen magazines in my bedroom. In fact, the t-shirt that I'm wearing today is a Wesley Crusher t-shirt.
Oh, nice.
Because, I loved Wesley.
Me too.
I still really like Will Wheaton. I buy any audiobook that Will narrates, I buy it.
Yeah.
It could be on a subject, it could be a book about, in a genre that I don't even care about, but, Will Wheaton read it, I'm listening to it.
Maybe this is a fun idea. Maybe we can do extra episodes to talk about Star Trek books or Star Trek novels.
Absolutely. I mean, I've got all of the TNG ones. I've read all of them except for the last 3. And that's because I refused to. Because since they said, the TNG books now are no longer canon. And so when they made that announcement, and then when Dayton said, we're writing these last 3 books, this trilogy is going to be tying it all up. And I was just kind of like, okay, well, I'll buy them to support you and David Mack and James Swallow, but it's I'm afraid to read them. I will read them eventually, but yeah. But all the other ones I've read them. I've written some fanfic, so you know.
Oh, me too. Fan fiction. I also write fan fiction. That's how I started with writing. So, but
a lot of my TNG stuff is pretty much all Bev and Picard.
Yeah, the last book I have read was the memoirs of Patrick Stewart.
Oh, that was a good book, yeah.
That is, well, I listened to it because I have it on audiobooks. And, but he's telling so beautifully. It is really, I'm getting more respect for him with what he have done his whole life, his career and his private life. That is amazing.
Yeah. I mean, I had to read the book because when I listening to the audiobook, I kept falling asleep because his voice is very soothing. But so now I use it if I can't fall asleep. I mean, if I can't sleep, I'm like, oh, I'll just put on Patrick's audiobook and then his voice will soothe me to sleep.
Yeah. You know what stupid thing is? If I am in that situation, I always listen to crime podcasts.
When you're going to bed.
Yeah, when I can't sleep, I always put that on, and that is the stupidest thing. I fall asleep.
I would wake up listening to a crime podcast. That wouldn't put me to sleep.
But I'm not the only one. I have a few friends who have the same thing.
My friend listens to true crime podcasts while she runs. And she's like, it makes you run a bit faster when you're in the woods and you're listening to a true crime podcast.
Oh, God.
I'm like, no, thank you.
Yeah. So, well, it's maybe a nice idea to do that once in a while. So let's get back to the episode.
Easily distracted by butterflies and other things.
Well, we were talking about Wesley Crusher, and Wesley knew the Cochrane algorithm, and then he noticed that it is that little song that we hear in the beginning at the conference on the Enterprise. And but there was also another thing, and when I saw that again, I was thinking, yeah, I never thought that about that too. That was about that scene that Data was congratulated with passing the exams for the Starfleet Academy.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if it was Geordi or it was Data who's telling her, well, you're probably not coming back to the Enterprise because most of the cadets don't, and they will have other experience and etc. And I remember the feeling I got with this scene was, we know of course that the Enterprise crew was really Will Wheaton's family at that time, because he had that much difficulties with his own family, and but this scene was a bit harsh, or hit me hard, because they were telling him the facts of, you're probably not coming back to the Enterprise because you will be deployed elsewhere, and etc. etc. You're gonna make new friends, you're gonna have a new family, and
sorry, continue.
And he was saying, damn, I didn't think about that. I was thinking of just coming back to the Enterprise.
Yeah, the only thing there that kind of sort of that just bugs me a bit is like, but Wesley's mother is still on that ship. So even if he wasn't going to come back and serve, like, he would still come back to the ship because he would come and see his mother. So, it's not entirely goodbye.
No, and we know that, of course, but I mean, like, okay, also even when he went with the Traveler and becoming a Traveler, why doesn't he comes back to visit his mother? And I had that thought also when in Star Trek Picard. Would Wesley know that he has a half brother?
Yeah. And, like, why didn't you know? I mean, I know Will kind of is, I guess, sort of over it because he doesn't really talk about it, but I'm often just like, why wasn't he in Picard? Like, why didn't they bring him in?
Yeah!
When they were bringing everyone else in?
Like a family reunion.
I realized that that Will was doing the what do they call it, the ready room,
Mm.
um but still they could have still had him in it. Like, they brought everyone else back.
I loved it. I loved it. I would love it if they give him a little bit of a family reunion with Dr. Crusher and Wesley, and well, then he noticed, okay, Picard and Beverly had a child together.
Yeah.
What was also in one way a surprise, because there were always hints in TNG that they could be having a romantic affair.
Yeah.
And in one way I hoped they would. But in Picard it was like a bombshell of, okay, 20 years ago we had a fling, and a romantic relationship, and we have a child together.
Yeah, it was I feel like part of me just kind of feels like that was, I realized it was a major plot point in the third series, but also I really do feel like that was like fan service. Like, that was just given to us.
Yeah.
You know, it was like, you all kept asking for them to get together, so now they're together. Or now they've been together. They're not still together, but you know. And also because obviously, like, in the book series, they did have a child together. So yeah, it was kind of strange, but yeah, I was glad that they did give them a child together, but I was not happy that it was like, oh, like, she didn't tell him and the relationship had ended, and it was like, oh, okay, well, so we got like half of a fan service.
Yeah, but also, if you see, I'm sorry guys, we are just turning a bit off, but I think if you see the character of Jack, it would be exactly Jean-Luc Picard in his younger years.
Yeah. Definitely. It was very, very, very much the, made you think of him. But yeah, it was just also just bizarre, as you know, the whole thing. Like, I mean, I'm happy it happened, but anyway, we just keep veering off topic. We're terrible. We're never gonna get through this episode.
Well, there was one other thing, and I always was thinking, we know that the Ferengi are cunning, and it reminds me of right away, okay, Slytherin, you know? And, but that Dr. Fargad was a very bad man. He wants to hurt and kill Luxwana Troi only
he
for...
basically wanted to live dissect her.
Yes. And the only race that could do that is a Cardassian.
Yeah.
That reminds me of it.
Yeah, I was just very, you know, the whole time too as well, when she was like, you know,
manipulated the talk.
Yeah, I mean, just the whole thing with the doctor, like it was interesting because he really didn't express an interest in her.
No.
And he thought that Diamond Tog was just, you know, ridiculous for wanting her, until he was like, oh, wait a minute, you know, we could use her. And it was like, no, that's not what you do with people.
Yeah. And although the Doctor doesn't have a big role in this, only by that scene of torturing Luxwana, he is, everyone will remember him.
Yeah. He will be remembered as the Ferengi who tried to dissect a live, Betazoid, but human, whatever you want to call her.
the I think it is the funny thing. They had a lot of humor in this episode as well, and how sarcastic Luxwana was to the Ferengis, and how manipulated Luxwana and Riker were. The other thing, and I have to come back a bit to Wesley Crusher, and I remember this scene was is one of my favorite scenes in whole Star Trek. Not my favorite, but it is one of my favorites. That is that Captain Picard actually promote Wesley as an acting ensign, and the next moment it is starting his new shift on the bridge. He came back in full uniform, and that's the first time you see him in the red uniform. And
that was nice.
Yes, and you see everyone on the bridge watching him, looking at him. Oh, wow, he is really one of us now. And this is one of the rare scenes that we see that how Picard admires Wesley and how thankful he is that Wesley is this, has this brains of being a wonderkind child, if I can say it like that.
Yeah, he finally sort of acknowledges him, because he even says, he says like, oh, I realize that I should no longer just call you acting. And I was just like, yes! Acknowledgement.
Yeah, and that is what Wesley always had to and always had said. I have to work 10 times harder than anyone else to actually being seen and actually being accepted or recognized that I am this bright and that I belong into the senior staff, if you can say it like that.
Yeah. But also, I feel like he took a huge, chance on missing his transportation to rescue 2 of the crew members. So, I mean, he deserved to have some kind of
recognition.
Yeah. That's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
It's like, well, where do I...
Yeah.
Because that, he just kind of was like all ready to go, said goodbye to his mother, and then he was like, hang on, I can fix this.
Yeah. And that's what I always say with Amanda as well. It's always Wesley who comes with those brightest moments and fix things. And that's what I always like about him. It's not only his place is not only on the helm, it's also everywhere else in the ship, because if there is one person who knows the ship in and out, it's Wesley.
Yeah.
And everyone hates him in a way, but I always said I loved him because in one way, because he has this difficult youth in the way of, okay, no father, he is a wounded child that has to fight for his recognition, etc., etc. As a nerd, I could recognize it in him.
Yeah, I think a lot of people can,
It's the same as Spock,
Yeah. But yeah, I think it was just, Wesley's just a fantastic character. It's a shame that so many people did hate on him, in general. And even they still do, like, people who watch it back. But then at the same time, it's like, but if you were that kid, if you were that sort of like smart kid who didn't fit in with their peers as well because you were smart, so you can identify with him, and yeah, then he saves the day, and he saves Riker and Troy, and Luxana, obviously. But and it's like, yeah, he knows what he's doing. He's a smart kid, and yeah, finally gets that recognition. So, even though it's very briefly, because then he does obviously go to the academy eventually, but still, at least he's partially recognized.
Yeah, but I think I wouldn't think anything else that Wesley would do that. If he can help or if he can save crew members, then he would. And especially crew members that he knows, because essentially, Riker and Picard, especially Riker, is more like a father figure for him.
Yeah. It's one of those things when you always want to say that, like, Picard is his father figure, but then it's like, yeah, but not really.
No.
Like, really, he was closer to Riker and to Geordi and Data. But obviously Geordi and Data were kind of more like his big brothers. Even though I think Geordi and Will are probably around the same age. But then we also know that Will, at first tried to flirt with Beverly, so
Yeah, but it's just like, and I think Will always said that in the days on the set, Jonathan became some kind of a substitute father for him.
Yeah, they were really close, weren't they?
They're still close.
And you can tell, you can see it in the scenes that they do together as well. That he looks up to him.
But also in the ready room.
Yeah.
It's I think, and I luckily Will could finally get that love from what he needed. And I think, and I believe, that was the funny part as well, what I'm thinking about now. That it was one of the Ready Room episodes that he went back to the Enterprise bridge, and he was sat down on his normal spot, and he was saying, "Yeah, this is so familiar," and because he visited the set of Picard, of course, and when the new Enterprise D was built, he came back on the set.
Yeah, that was cool to see.
I don't know. Do you still want to add something in of this episode? Oh!
I mean, the one thing that I think we didn't even mention is Picard's Shakespeare.
Yes! I wanted to say that just now.
Like, that was the best. Just laying off the sonnets, and and Diamond Talk had no clue what Picard was, that he was reciting, and
he was so in his element. He was so in his element doing that.
Yeah, and you could just tell that, like, Patrick was just loving it.
Yeah.
But then when Luxwana gets beamed over, and he's like, warp 9. Like,
get the hell out of here!
It's like, get her out of here.
And I think that is also, that set the tone for Picard's and Luxwana's relationship. Not as a romantic relation, but... And I must say, that was brilliant.
Because Luxwana is constantly, like, after Picard.
Yes.
Like,
no way!
I do love their interactions, though. I think they're absolutely brilliant. And I also kind of, like, wonder how like Patrick Stewart felt with like his boss's wife sitting in his lap.
Yeah. But that was the. It reminded me of right away. You remember Fosh?
Not really.
Fosh was that woman that he met on Rise Up.
Oh yeah. Oh, see, I try to forget her.
Me too. But did you know? And you probably have read it in his memoirs. But did you know that he actually had a relationship with her?
Yeah.
I didn't know that, so I was pretty surprised by that.
Yeah, I think he was engaged to her as well. I don't think they ever actually got married, but I think he may have even been engaged to her.
I only know that they were together, and because Patrick Stewart became famous at the time, they couldn't handle the pressure, and so they split.
Yeah, well, didn't like her anyway.
Okay, so if I take a look at the IMDb rating on IMDb, it's a 6.5. How would you rate it?
I mean, I feel like a 6.5 is kind of generous. Honestly, yeah, I wouldn't rate it higher than that. Maybe it gets like the halfway mark, because I really feel like, again, it wasn't bad, but it just was it was too much of a sitcom when you involve the Ferengi. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they just always feel very. They always just make it feel very sitcom-y when they're around, and I feel like that's not really what Star Trek is about.
Yeah, I'm about 6.5 as well. So.
Yeah, I just feel like, the IMDb people. Yeah, that's probably about good enough. Again, obviously, like, we're in the 3rd season, so like they're still trying to find their vibe, find where the series is supposed to go. But I'm just as I say, I just really felt like the episode was there was too much of this, like, just comedy, but there was too much comedy at the expense of the Ferengi. You know what I mean? Like, it was just very much just like, we're gonna make fun of the Ferengi. And we didn't actually mean to make people think that they are a stereotype of another race. No, we didn't mean that.
Yeah,
because you kind of get that. It's like if you're a Harry Potter fan and you see the Gringotts goblins, and you're like, oh no. Yeah. So I feel like Ferengi and the goblins from Gringotts are like very, very similar to each other. I feel like J.K. Rowling watched an episode of Star Trek and went, those are the people I'm putting in charge of the bank.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you again, Rebecca, for recapping it with me. I had a blast again.
Me too, although I'm not too sure we actually recapped so much as we just kept veering.
Yeah. Well, sometimes it goes like that, and
yeah.
Sometimes it goes like that, and I don't mind, It's just like, it has to be like that, and because
that's it, yeah.
You think of something and you get something else about, but it is what it is, and I think it
just shows that we don't script anything.
No, exactly, and it's more fun that way,
Yeah.
So, well, thank you very much for being here again, and
yep.
We will speak to each other in about 2 weeks again.
Sounds great.
Alrighty. Hello, Trekkies and Trekkers! Welcome to this amazing Star Trek podcast on Trek Tuesday. I'm your host, Arinda, and I recap every 2 weeks an episode of Star Trek TNG. Today we recap the episode Mennage Troi. But first, a note of the host of this podcast. In the next few episodes, I will be joined by Rebecca to recap the episode, and hopefully I can count her in as my regular guest for this podcast. I would appreciate it if you like this video, subscribe to the channel and share it with your friends and family. And now for the plot of the episode. At a reception aboard the Federation starship Enterprise following a trade conference on Beta Set, Counselor Luxwana Troi argued with her mother, Luxwana Troi, about her insistence that Diana get married and raise a family. At the same party, Luxwana is approached by the Ferengi Daemon Tog of the ship Kraton, who is interested in Luxwana in a sexual way, but also explains he would like Luxwana to use her telepathy to help him succeed in business. Luxwana rejects him flatly, then becomes irate and remarks that she would rather eat Orion wing slugs than date Tog. Diana tries to speak with Luxwana in her quarrels about the incident, but winds up becoming infuriated over Luxwana's behavior and leaves. Afterwards, at the urging of Captain Picard, Commander Riker and Diana Troi decide to take a quick shore leave on Beta Set while the Enterprise heads out on a routine mission studying the nebula. Luxwana tracks down her daughter and Riker with intent to encourage a renewed romance between the couple. She is just getting started when Daemon Tog beams down. As Riker expresses his surprise, Tog states that he has come for Luxwana. When he is again rebuffed by Luxwana, this time on the pain of provoking an interstellar incident, Tog has himself and the other transported aboard the Kraton. The three awakes in a cell aboard the Kraton. Tog then has Diana and Luxwana beamed into the lab of Farrak, a Ferengi doctor who hopes to study Luxwana's telepathy using mind probes. In the process of transporting them, he leaves the woman clothing behind, saying that women are not worthy enough to wear clothes. Luxwana pretends to be interested in Tog and gains Diana's return to the cell with Riker by agreeing to discuss with Tog a proposal to use her telepathic abilities in trade negotiations. Riker enticed a Ferengi guard into a chess game, and once outside the cell, Riker quickly overpowered the guard. Once freed, Diana and Riker attempts to send a message to the Enterprise, only to learn that the ship communication system is secured by access code. As Luxwana seduces Tog by rubbing his ears, what we of course know as Umax, she receives a telepathic message from Diana asking her to try to get Tog's access code. Luxwana has almost convinced Tog to tell her the code when Farrak walks in and catches her in the act. Farrak threatens her to humiliate Tog by revealing his incompetence to the Ferengi, but offers to forget the incident if Luxwana is turned over to him for experimentations, despite the fact that the proposed task may be lethal. Meanwhile, the Enterprise leaves to the nebula, which has been interfering with communications, and learn from Better officials that Riker and the Trois have been kidnapped. Returning to Better Set, the Enterprise crew discovered flowers indigenous to a Ferengi planet at the spot where Diana and Riker were last seen. Picard orders a frequency scan to see if Riker has somehow sent a message, but are unable to pick up anything disassembled. Riker taps into the system on the Kryton that suppresses Cochrane distortion from the ship's warp field and modulates it to generate a signal into a pattern he hopes the Enterprise crew will recognize. In the minds of the Church, acting ensign Wesley Crusher is in final preparation to depart to Earth for his second attempt to pass the Starfleet Academy entrance exam. As he is about to leave, he realizes that the modulated interference itself may be a signal, and rushes back to the bridge, missing his transport back to Earth. Decoding the signal, Wesley finds Riker has provided the heading of the Kryton, and the Enterprise heads out to pursuit. In the meanwhile, Deanna experiences pain as she senses the mind probes being used on her mother. Riker, having finished setting up a modulation of the Cochrane distortion, arms himself and bursts into Farrak's lab to free Luxwana, but a standoff ensures when Talk enters with a phaser. Just then, the Enterprise arrives and Luxwana buys the release of Troi and Riker by agreeing to stay with Talk. After Riker and Deanna are returned to the Enterprise, Picard plays the role of a jealous lover, describing his love for Luxwana and telling Talk that if he cannot have her, no one will, and threatens to destroy the Kryton. If she is not delivered to him immediately, Picard recited parts of William Shakespeare's sonnet 147, 141, and 18, and Canto 27 of In Memories H.H. by Alfred Lord Tennyson, whilst giving orders to fire all weapons at the Kryton. Fearing for his life, Damon Talk hurriedly beams the Luxwana directly to the Enterprise bridge, and the Ferengi ship quietly departs. So taken in is Luxwana by Picard's poetic profession of love for her, that she takes her imagined place on his lap in the command chair. Wesley Crusher is summoned to the ready room by Picard, where he is informed that he will have to wait for another year before he can reapply for entrance to the Starfleet Academy. But in the interim, he will remain on the Enterprise. Picard, in light of Wesley's contribution to the ship and crew, give him a field promotion to full ensign. So we are going to rewatch this episode. I hope you do too, and then we will be back to recap it. Stay tuned, don't go away.